ready for a deep dive. We're heading to the Faroe Islands, a place where Viking raids echo, get this, in everyday speech.
That's right, we're diving into Faroese.
You might be prepping for a trip, or maybe brushing up on linguistics.
Or maybe, just like us, you're insatiably curious.
Either way, get ready to uncover how Faroese evolved and what makes it so unique.
What's captivating about Faroese is, well, it really embodies the interplay of history, geography, and pure linguistic chance.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We know Faroese has these Viking roots, right?
Picture this, 800 AD. Viking longships cutting through the waves, finally landing on these rugged, windswept islands. On board, they brought their language.
Old Norse.
Old Norse, which would become the ancestor not just of Faroese, but also Icelandic and Norwegian.
Ah, okay.
Think of them like siblings, branching off from a common ancestor, each taking on their own distinct personality as they evolved.
Okay, I'm already hooked. So we've got these linguistic siblings, Icelandic, Norwegian, Faroese, all descending from Old Norse. But then weren't there a couple of other siblings, languages that didn't quite stand the test of time?
Sadly, yes. Norn, spoken in Orkney and Shetland, and Greenlandic Norse both went extinct.
Wow.
Which makes Faroese all the more precious. It's like finding a long-lost branch of the family tree, still vibrant and full of life. But that's for later. Let's go back to those early days in the Faroes.
So how did Old Norse begin to transform, to take on those, unique Faroese characteristics?
Well, the oldest surviving Faroese document offers a clue. And get this, it's a letter about sheep.
No way, seriously?
Dating back to 1298, it shows how central sheep were to life on the islands even then.
Okay, that's pretty charming. A 13th century sheep letter. I don't know why, but I wasn't expecting that. But it wasn't written in what we'd recognize as Faroese today, was it?
You're right. It was still written in Old Norse, highlighting how closely linked the languages were at that time. But here's where it gets really interesting. Peeking through, like little linguistic Easter eggs, are these uniquely Faroese words and grammatical structures. You can almost sense a new language emerging, finding its voice.
That's incredible. It's like those early islanders were shaping the language, making it their own, even as they wrote it down. Were there other influences at play during those early centuries? Didn't some of those Vikings have connections further afield than Scandinavia?
That's right. Not all those Viking adventurers came directly from mainland Scandinavia. Some had settled in places like Ireland, around the Irish Sea.
I see.
And when they reached the Faroes, they brought, shall we say, a touch of Irish flair to the linguistic mix.
I knew those Vikings got around, but I had no idea their travels would leave such a lasting mark on the language. What kind of Irish influence are we talking about here?
Some researchers believe certain Faroese place names might have Celtic roots. Take Mykinds, for example, or Storademon and Lidlademon. Even everyday words like black for buttermilk, or drunner for an animal's tailpiece, or grúkur for head or hair have possible links to ancient Irish.
Wow. It's like each word is a clue, helping us piece together this intricate puzzle of Faroese's past. But let's shift gears a bit. What happened after those early centuries of Viking influence and whispers of Irish?
Well, Faroese faced a period so dramatic, it's almost as if the language went into hiding for a time.
Okay, now you've got me on the edge of my seat. Tell me more about this mysterious hiding period.
Imagine this. It's the 1500s, and the Reformation is sweeping across Europe.
Right.
In the Faroe Islands, this change brought with it the dominance of Danish, which became the official language.
Oh.
Tragically, Faroese lost its official written form. It was no longer used in government, education, or even church. Sadly, this wasn't uncommon. As larger powers asserted themselves, local languages were often sidelined.
That's heartbreaking, to have your language or cultural identity pushed aside like that. It's hard to imagine the impact that must have had on the islanders. But even with Danish looming large, the Faroese people held on to their language, didn't they?
This is where the story takes an inspiring turn.
Yeah.
Even though they were discouraged from using their own language, the Faroese people never stopped speaking it. For 300 years, Faroese was this hidden treasure, passed down through generations, kept alive in homes and hearts.
Wow.
Imagine the folk tales, the ballads, the everyday conversations, all those words, those rhythms echoing through the centuries.
It's like a testament to the power of language, to its ability to endure even in the face of extraordinary pressure. But if it wasn't being written down, how do we know so much about Faroese from this period? And how can we be sure it remained distinct from Danish and didn't just become absorbed into the dominant language?
You've hit on why Faroese is such a gold mine for language enthusiasts. Because it was primarily spoken for 300 years, it evolved in this incredibly pure way, relatively untouched by written Danish. For linguists, it's like discovering a perfectly preserved insect in amber,
Oh, wow.
a snapshot of the past. It's remarkable, isn't it? This language, essentially frozen in time for centuries.
Yeah.
It gives us this incredible window into, the evolution of Norse languages. But you're right, it didn't stay solely a spoken language forever.
Thankfully not. Someone eventually gave this hidden gem the written recognition it deserved, right?
Enter Wenceslas Ulricus Hammershaimb in the mid-1800s, the man who would become known as the father of written Faroese.
Okay, so Hammershaimb steps in, a hero for a language that had been whispering in the shadows for centuries. What was his approach? How do you even begin to pin down a language that's been thriving in its spoken form for so long? Did you try to simplify it, maybe align it more with Danish spelling to make it more accessible?
Not at all. Hammershaimb was driven by a deep respect for the spoken language, for the way it had been meticulously preserved by generations of Faroese speakers. He wanted a writing system that captured the true essence, the soul of the language, not one that, forced it into a mold.
That makes so much sense. But I imagine it must have been an incredible challenge. After all, we're talking about an archipelago where each island, each village even, probably had its own distinct dialect, passed down through families.
Precisely. And this is where Hammershaimb's ingenuity shines through. He decided on something called etymological orthography. Now, before you think I'm about to get all technical on you, let me explain. He essentially crafted a system where the spelling of a word reflects its roots, its journey through time, all the way back to its Old Norse origins.
Ah, I see. So instead of trying to capture every subtle variation in pronunciation that arose over the centuries, he created a system that honored the shared history of these words, sort of like looking for the family resemblance, even when everyone has grown up and changed. Did this approach tie Faroese more closely to its sibling languages, like Icelandic?
Exactly. If you were to glance at written Icelandic and Faroese side by side, you might even mistake them for being very similar. They share that same connection to their Old Norse ancestor through their spelling. But here's the catch. Pronounce those same words out loud, and you'll quickly realize that they've taken on quite different personalities over time. Think of it this way. They're like siblings who show up to a family reunion in matching outfits.
Cute.
A nod to their shared heritage. Yeah. But as soon as they start speaking, their unique personalities come shining through.
I love that analogy. So even with this shared spelling system, this link to the past, Faroese pronunciation still managed to develop its own quirks, its own distinct flavor.
Oh, absolutely. And this is where our deep dive gets even more fascinating. You see those diverse dialects we talked about? They're not just subtle differences in accent. They're like vibrant threads woven into the very fabric of the language.
So we're not just talking about dropping a few letters here and there or adding a bit of a lilt to your words. These are some serious variations.
Right. You could say that. Across the Faroe Islands, you'll encounter a tapestry of dialects, each one shaped by history, geography, and even just the close-knit nature of these island communities. And here's the best part. There's no one standard accent, no single way of speaking that's considered the correct one. Each island, each village even, celebrates its own way of speaking.
I have to say, I'm really starting to fall for this language. It's like this amazing blend of historical echoes and this vibrant celebration of regional diversity. But surely there must be some common threads, some sounds or grammatical structures that instantly identify a speaker as Faroes, no matter which island they call home.
You're right. There are. One of the first things you'll notice is how Faroese handles its vowels. Take the long O, for instance. Journey to the north of the Faroes, and you'll hear it pronounced like the O in the German word Horen, a sort of rounded, open sound, but head south. And that same long O transforms, taking on a sound closer to the aw in the English word law.
Wow, that's a pretty dramatic shift for a single vowel. It really shows you how even the smallest elements of language can be molded and shaped by time and place.
And don't underestimate those consonants either. Some dialects have these things called aspirated consonants. Imagine a puff of air following certain sounds. Take the word for meat, kjert. In some villages, it'll sound like a gentle kjert sound, but journey south, and you'll hear this forceful puff of air after the K, almost like the speaker is really emphasizing the word.
It's almost as if the language itself is mirroring the dramatic, windswept landscape of the islands. Learning about Faroes, its history, its quirks, it really makes you want to just, hop on a plane and experience it firsthand. Imagine yourself there, walking along those rugged coastlines, listening to the wind, carry snatches of conversation.
I know, right? to overhear those unique vowel sounds, those aspirated consonants
Yeah.
in their natural habitat. It'd be like stepping into a living museum of language.
Exactly. Picture yourself in a cozy pub, a local band strikes up a tune, the lyrics swirling around you, and each word, steeped in centuries of history, of tradition. Or maybe you're browsing the shelves of a bookstore, picking up a novel written in this beautifully preserved language. It'd be like holding a piece of the Faroe Islands soul in your hands.
And even if a trip to the Faroes isn't in the cards right now, there are so many ways to connect with this amazing language. You can find recordings online, listen to traditional Faroes music. You could even try your hand at learning a few basic phrases. Trust me, even a few words of this language will give you a whole new appreciation for its beauty, its complexity.
That's the beauty of, today's interconnected world. You can satisfy your curiosity, dip your toes into these incredible pockets of culture, of language, all from, the comfort of your own home. Who knows, maybe this deep dive has sparked something in you, a desire to explore not just Faroes, but, the wider world of languages.
And there are countless languages out there, each with its own story to tell, its own set of unique features, fascinating history, waiting to be uncovered. Just like Faroese reminds us, language is more than just a way to communicate. It's a window into the heart and soul of a culture.
So whether you're inspired to learn a new language, book that trip to the Faroes, or simply keep your ears open for the diverse tapestry of languages all around you, remember this. Every conversation, every word spoken is a testament to the enduring power of human connection, expressed through the magic of language. Thanks for diving deep with us today, and until next time, keep exploring.